Hello again and welcome back to another video in the OMR Railway series. Well, as you can see, the plasticard for the building of the station is turned up. So I shall start opening this and I'll see you in a bit. So now I've unpacked it, I will just show you what it is that I've got so far. Just one quick reminder, this is the station I'm intending to build. I'm sure I've shown you that enough times now, so that's the intention. And as you remember in the last video we managed to produce a card version of it, or attempted to build a card version of it. And now we are just about ready to start building the main, or start building it for real, I suppose. This is what I had previously, so there's the window template for the windows, and I used that to help me work out the scale for the model. And here are the windows that go with that. I'm not sure if I showed you this in the last video. So there's the windows that will be used, and they are from York Model Making. I also ordered and have received the template for the door, and that helped me when I was redoing the scale model. I'll explain why I redid it, and that helped me with doing that. And there is the door that I'm planning to use. It comes in a number of bits, so I've got two of them, obviously one for each side. Just need to work out how that all goes together. The other bits that I've got also from, so all of this and this here is from York Model Making, is some bits to go over the top of the window. I'm not quite sure what they're called. Headers, look, so brick and stone headers. I've got a pack of two various types, and I'm going to see if I can use those just to add a little bit of detail to the station as I'm making it. Some glue, super deluxe materials, or deluxe materials, sorry, super plastic glue. I'm hoping that will do the job. A little bit of the packaging there. And the other thing that I've got is the plasticard, which is actually thinner than I expected it to be, so I need to work out how I'm going to do this. And what I've got is plasticard that's Southeastern fine cast building sheets, dressed stone blocks it says, which is 00 gauge 4mm scale, which is what I was after, and I'm hoping it will sort of represent the stone blocks that are in the station that I'm intending to build. So I now need to transfer the station outline, the model that I did, or the mock-up that I did of the station, onto here so that I can start building this completely, or start building it in its entirety. So as I said, there was a little bit, I had some feedback from the last video, and I'll just explain what that was. Well, I hope you recognise this from the previous video. This was the mock-up of the station that I did in the last video, and I had some feedback from that video about the mock-up, and so I'm very grateful to, I think it's Andrew Johnson who commented on it and said that I need to give a bit more between the top of the windows and I suppose the top of the building, the top of the wall here. So he said just give it a bit more meat between there because it was a bit tight. On the photograph it does look like it's fairly tight, but I got what Andrew was saying. So what I did was I redid this building completely, and also managed to use the door that I've just shown you as the scale for the door, and I'll just show you what that looks like now. So here it is. As I say, it is only a mock-up of it, and as you can see I've given it a little bit more room between the top of the window and where the roof starts. I've also had a go at working out how the roof might go together. It's a little bit different on each side, but when I come to do the model, hopefully we'll well, when I come to do the model, I will make sure that it's exactly the same on each side. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do the chimneys yet, but so the door is actually slightly smaller than it was on the last one, but overall it looks about the same. So my intention now is to use this as the template and transfer that onto the plasticard, and then I can start building the model for good. So whilst I'm getting this ready, I need to cut this out and so I can use it as a template, and also then begin to transfer it onto the plasticard and work out how I'm going to do that. You may remember from the last video we were having a little bit of trouble, as always, with the electrics and the electrofrog points. So why don't we go over to the model and have a quick look and see how we managed to fix that. Managed to get the points working, and despite me taking it all apart and taking it off and checking it, actually the connections to the points were absolutely fine. When I got it across to the workbench and tested it, there was no problem with the power that was either coming into the point or and through to the electrofrog section of the point, and from the electrofrog point outwards. So actually I had all the connections correct, despite what I thought we might have had a dry joint. Actually there wasn't. So what was the problem? Well, let me just explain that to you. So here is one of the point motors that I'm using on the layout. This one's one of the ones I took off from when I moved the layout. I think I can reuse it. The only difference between this one and the one that I fitted was self-latching, which I was hoping would make life easier. It may not have done. Anyway, so I thought that one of the connections I had soldered here wasn't working correctly, but as I've just said, that wasn't the case. It was actually working fine. So all the power was coming through. There was no difference in the power. So I refitted it, and once again, when I was moving the point from one side to the other, one side it was working fine, the other side there was no power getting to it. So I was trying to work out what this was, and then finally when I was underneath the layout trying to look at it and see what was causing it, I noticed that actually when I was throwing it, so imagine this is how it is on the layout, when I was switching the switch across on the layout, this appeared to be moving, but actually when I looked underneath, it wasn't moving as far as it should do. So whilst on the top it looked as if it had thrown right across on the point, when I was looking underneath, it actually hadn't. The point was right across, but this bar hadn't moved fully from one side to the other. So I tried it to see what was happening, see what was working. It was in the right place, so it wasn't like it was off to one side or at an angle. So it was in the right place, but it still wasn't. And actually what was happening was that whilst the point was moving fully across, the bottom bit wasn't, and some of that was because, or it appeared that it was because the metal bit here had become very dry, and it was becoming very stiff to move it from one to the other, even though it was on virtually a brand new point motor. So then what I did, as you probably saw in the earlier, was I fitted the switch to it and the solenoid to use the switch to move it across, and when I did that I noticed that actually still, even so, whilst it was working and pushing it across, once again it wasn't now throwing the point fully, so So it was very, very dry and very stiff moving from one side to the other. I got some of the oil that I've been using, the sewing machine oil that you have previously seen me use on the locos, and oiled up the point. And then what I did was I then used it threw fully across, and the moment it was thrown fully across, lo and behold, the electrofrog on the point was functioning perfectly, and as you just saw, so it's now working fine. There is no problem, it runs across perfectly, so that's great. And I've also now fitted another point to the layout and a little bit of extra track, although I still need to put the underlay back underneath that track and actually solder the dropper wires to it. But it's now running beautifully across the track. So it wasn't my soldering, it wasn't the electrics. In this case, it was just the fact that the point motor wasn't fully throwing. Learn something new all the time. I now know that I will check that before I start disassembling everything. So there we go. Let's go back to the workbench and see how the building of the station is getting on. Well, that is good news that we finally managed to get the electrified points working, and it wasn't a problem with the soldering, but just a problem with them needing a bit of oil. So, time to crack on with the building of the station and to make those first initial cuts onto the plasticard. I have had some thoughts about how I'm going to do this, but we'll talk about that as we go through. Well, the first thing I've done is drawn a quick line along the bottom. I did look at the plasticard using the set square, and it doesn't appear to be completely square on either side, so I couldn't use just a line. There's a line at the bottom here, I don't know if you can see it on the film, but there's a line down here, but that's not square either, so I've had to set a line that represents the base of where the building is going to go. What I'm going to do now is to put the various bits into it, so starting of course with using the window as the in order to get the gaps. Well, I'm progressing with the second of the made sides of the station. As you remember, they're both the same. I've managed to cut most of the windows out as best I can. I'll show you what it looks like in a second. I'll just finish this one off. One of the things that I noticed, or that I probably should have worked out anyway, was that I initially cut the windows out based on me doing an outline in pencil around the outside. Then when I put the template back over the top, I don't know if you can see this, but that was where the pencil line was. When I put the template back over the top, the template's actually, the outline is much smaller than the template. So what I've had to do is then just recut it basically, so using the template as exactly that, as the template. I have tried it up against one of the windows, and I'll show you that right at the end, and it does work fine. So once again, starting in the corner, making a number of cuts. And just tidy up the corners. Still needs a bit more. Looking good. The other bit is around the other bit is the curve at the top, which I've sort of got on most of them. I'm not doing it too accurately at the moment because I'm hoping when I do the stone bits that run around the top, that will help hide any errors, any of the minor little bits that may not be quite as well done as I'd like. And I'll show you that in a minute. Now, just So I'm just test fitting so I can see what it looks like. So I've just put the window frame underneath and one of the bricks or stone headers across the top. I'm hoping it doesn't look too bad. As you can see, the stone header actually hides the poorly cut curve at the top, which was proving tricky. I don't know whether to put some strips down the side of the frame just to even that out a little bit, maybe some very thin plasticard strips down the side, but I'll have a think about that. The other thing is which of the headers to use. So that's one of the styles of header, and I'll just show you the other one. And there's the other style. So one's got quite a thick wide brick and the other one's quite a narrow brick. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. I quite like the narrow brick one, but let me know what you think. The other thing I need to work out now is how to join this all together, and I'm thinking about using some thin card to go underneath the plasticard, just to give it a little bit more, I suppose, sturdiness, because it's a bit flexible at the moment. I'm hoping that might just make it a little bit more sturdy for when I'm connecting it, and then also I suppose it will give me a layer between the window frame and the inside, and also enable me to perhaps paint the inside of the card black, so that if I do put lights inside the building, it won't shine through the plasticard. But I'm still having a look at how I'm planning to do that. Wow, that's just about all we've got time for this month. Building's progressing a little bit slowly, but it's progressing. What I'll do is I'll leave you with some shots of the trains running over the tracks that we've got running so far, and I'll see you soon.